You became a household name back in Australia when you released Beautiful Soul. Can you just take us back to that time? What were your fondest memories at that time?
I think that was, that was sort of the beginning of it all. 2005, circa 2005, Beautiful Soul had just come out. I think I was a junior or senior in high school. Yeah, it was the beginning of it all, of this, crazy journey that's now my career. I think that was actually after that song was released. That would have been the first time that I traveled to Australia, and actually may have been one of the last times I've been to Australia. I haven't been in about 14 years, so I'm very excited to be coming back.
Very well, we're very excited to have you. You were a teenage idol at that time. Every boy wanted your blonde hairstyle. Every girl wanted to, maybe every girl and every boy, I don't know, wanted to date you. How did you handle that level of fame? I mean, were there just pinch me moments where you're just going, this is surreal?
It was. It was a surreal time, and I just remember thinking, I just loved performing, and for me, it was just one of those experiences you'll never forget. Every kid, I think, sort of dreams of having that moment where they get to be on stage and people are singing their music and cheering for them. And I remember the reaction being equally, if not more, insane in Australia than it was even here in the U.S. So they've always been a very receptive group of people down there, and so I'm very anxious to get back.
So yes, you're coming down for Soap Opera alongside acts like Pussycat Dolls and Steps. Are you a fan of those other acts as well?
It's funny, I don't know a couple of the other acts. I think that they were maybe bigger in the UK or in Australia. Well, of course, I know the Pussycat Dolls, and I grew up listening to like Smash Mouth. They came before even me. So Steps I'm new to. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're about. I know that they were big in the UK and also in Australia. Didn't know them as much here growing up. But it's going to be an exciting time. I mean, we're going to be in close quarters with a lot of new groups that I've never met. I've known the Pussycat Dolls for years. Actually, Kim is a buddy of mine. So it's going to be fun to sort of rally the pop troops together and perform down under.
Apart from those, well, you listened to a little bit to the Pussycat Dolls. What were the pop groups that you listened to growing up? What do you think sort of influenced your career?
Sure. So I listened to a lot of Craig David. Craig David had a major impact on me vocally and musically. Daniel Bedingfield was another favorite of mine in terms of his vocal performance. I grew up in the heyday of the Backstreet Boys, right? The Backstreet Boys were the boy band of that era, and which was very sweet because later on I would end up touring with them twice. Actually, I did a European tour with them, and then a tour with them, I think in like the like 2013 or something here in the U.S. So I grew up with all of those influences, but I also grew up listening to a lot of soul music, a lot of Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Al Green, a lot of the classic sort of R&B singers as well. Babyface was like had a big impact on me. Those were some of the influences growing up.
And what do you personally find the best part of touring?
Well, I mean, traveling into other places of the world are certainly a lot of fun. I live in LA in this bubble 90% of the year, so it's nice to travel and meet new people, experience new cultures. There's very few places left that I haven't been, but it is really still very exciting to get back, especially when you haven't been in 14 years, to go back and see places like Sydney and Melbourne and Adelaide and Brisbane. I've actually never been to Perth. This will be my first time in Perth. So, it's just fun to see faces across the planet who know who you are and know your songs.
Well, that's Nat Barr, one of our hosts, is from Perth. We're from Perth, and we can guarantee you'll have an amazing time there. You're also an actor. You've worked alongside Australian favourite Ryan Quanten. What was it like working with him?
Ryan's great. That was my first acting gig here in Los Angeles back in the early 2000s. It was a show called Summerland. It was a short-lived show on then the WB, and that sort of opened the door for me. And I actually, in the last few years, outside of music, have been doing a lot more writing and acting. I did a couple of sketches for Funny or Die. Just recently is more in the comedy world. I just finished a film in Boston with Diane Keaton and Jeremy Irons, which was really exciting, a rom-com that'll be out next year. I was on a show for a couple seasons called Young and Hungry. It was like a multi-cam comedy. So acting's always been a big part of my career that I've tried to maintain over the years, because I love it all. I started in theater. For me, acting and singing was always a part of my world, and I'm going to try and maintain those, those careers as long as I can.
Swiss Army knife, you can do it all.
That's right, that's right.
That's amazing. You're still making music, of course, though, still touring. What can Aussie fans expect from you next?
So I'm going to be down there, obviously, next April. The tour kicks off. They can start, I think you can buy tickets as early as this December. But I'm going to do a lot of the old hits. You'll hear all the oldies and goodies, but I got a few new songs that I haven't even played here in the U.S. yet. So they actually might be the first to hear some of the new material that's coming out next year.